That's what the next generation of gamer chairs need, is straps to hold you tight. Yeah. I would
put them in wheelchairs, y'all.
I would genuinely appreciate that. Instead I have this dadly office chair from my desk, which is quite good.
My dadly office chair a little bit.
It's good now because it's showing like serious wear and tear, which is the best.
Mine is disgusting in that regard.
There's also my painting desk is this side, like for model painting. So the left arm of the chair is covered in paint splatters, whereas the right arm is perfectly clean. You
should see my gaming chair, which is sort of just an office chair. The right, you can tell which arm I use like on the controller more, because the right arm of the chair is in much better condition than the left arm, which is just constantly like against it.
I love that kind of stuff. I love well-worn. There's the old phenomenon of hey, thank you by the way, of statues when they get like all brassy in certain places, and like if you ever see a statue of a dog, people have been rubbing that dog's head. They've been giving that dog pats. I love it. Also, any statues with boobs, people have been rubbing them inanimate boobs. Really old stairs where you can see all the footfalls.
I like that.
I love that. I try to describe that kind of stuff in my ruins, because it's always it's a delight.
I also enjoy old stuff, like Doxy.
Wow.
I was gonna say Dungeons and Dragons, but that's okay.
At least you said you liked me this time.
Of course I like you, Doxy.
We only play with people we like.
Is Dean just very still, or is his webcam crashed?
He's
very still. He's moving slightly.
Now he's still trying to be very still, which means he's moving more.
As soon as you said it, his fringe was like,
yeah. That's how you can see a Dean's emotion through his fringe.
Like
it's like a cockatiel. Anyway, maybe we should play some D&D on our D&D show, D&D channel. D&D. We play D&D.
This is the D&D channel.
Yeah, official Wizards of the Coast D&D channel. Huh.
Oof, gonna get taken down now.
If only. Last time we had a really neat session. You went into the cave by Cornucopia, by your village, to clear it out. There was an Ankeg and baby Ankeg. It was a whole ordeal. You know, you had to run away, you had to recover. You had to come back next time, suffering some injuries.
Heroically stand in the way of an acid jet that would have melted Amaryllis.
That's actually what happened. Yeah.
Totally canon.
It totally isn't me badassing you completely fumbling a bad deck save. But when you went back, not only were there more Ankeg, there were young Ankeg. But
we murdered them.
Yes. You continued down. Yeah. You continued through the Ankeg tunnels and found that connected to the cave, although through very awkward pathways that have to be opened up, more so, there is an ancient clockwork steampunk gnomish ruin, complete with clockwork guardians and bomb bots and cleaner droids. You fought the battles there, fought battles of steam and blood, and completed the puzzle to find not only a clean water source, but a servant of Ing, your god of death, a black squid. Over the next couple of days, Torin has been sanctifying the graveyard. The plan, as described, was that the graveyard sits on top of a hill to the north of the village. On that hill, amongst all the graves, you've now built a nice little pond. It's kind of semi-covered. And in that pond now lives the servant of Ing, this black squid. The elders and more injured of the town have been spending these last few days weaving a wall that goes around the graveyard. It has a couple of entrances and exits, so it's not a defensive wall. It's a spiritual wall, a defense against the foul miasma and daemons and things like that. Yes, but dark arts, but cooler. Especially considering the wall in part has black tentacles and fish scales and things like that carved and weaved through it.
Like a dead fish just rotting on a stick.
Well, yeah. Some of it's treated, some of it's not. Which, while might be unpleasant to some, the spiritual energy of the graveyard now means that it is protected by Ing, the god of death, who is kind of a
total badass kraken.
Well, yes, Ing is a badass kraken, which means, in your faith, it's kind of a confusing figure, because yes, they curse everyone, they eat everyone, but they're also a protector of the rightful cycle of death and things like that. So, while the graveyard is kind of a morbid, surreal place, it is now safe. And that means that the people buried here will not be affected by the foul corruption that befalls the land, which is a huge, massive step, so that you don't have to deal with the Walking Dead. During this took place over a couple of days. What is it that everyone else has been doing? Belle, you went off. The reason you didn't join them on that adventure, you were off training many of the tweens and such to become scouts, and that's been a grand success.
Beautiful.
The younger generation who are a bit too young to really be helping falling trees and things like that can do their rounds around the village, especially in the little pockets of forest that you have in your younger years called home. Watching for any sort of danger and also relaying to hunters when there's food about. So it's being a great success so far, and I think you'd probably be pretty proud.
I imagine that all the kids probably think that Belle is really cool, and
They don't.
look up to her.
Your ultimate fantasy.
I imagine that, okay?
No, it makes total sense. I just wanted to throw shade.
It's like this, but we think she's cool.
I feel like also she would have noted which ones were the most gifted and taught them a little bit about stealthiness and spying and
Absolutely.
being able to get out of a rough situation without being able to be seen, so that they can go out.
In D&D terms, right now all those scouts are level 0, but
They're my little skulls.
it's very possible over time that some of them could level up, right? Some of them have some desires, some of them will probably just age into whatever career they need to do, but some of them will probably be doing this the rest
Will
of the
I be able to take downtime to work with them to speed up that process?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet beans.
No, they're gaining power too quickly. We must hold power absolute. Wait, what?
They're gonna outlevel.
You're gonna get
Oh my god. Fucking billion.
ousted by the younger generation, by the Zoomers.
Yeah, they're gonna start calling us boomers.
So what, either what would you be doing during the last couple of days, or what would you like to be doing now on this sunny morning?
I mean, over the last couple of days, I would be coughing. No, there's the other passage in the cave thing. Is that something to be more doing as an actual adventure, or is it something because Amaryllis would absolutely be interested in that?
Amaryllis, because Amaryllis is a very experienced tree woman. I think Amaryllis would be able to observe something like this without going too far. I think you would be aware that, it's an Ankeg tunnel and there's signs of life, so I think you would be very careful, but it's entirely reasonable for you to make a nature check right now for your observations.
Yeah, there is also the thing that I carry on forgetting is that I do have a familiar that I could send ahead to have a look down the tunnel a bit more for added safety.
Is the familiar a spider?
It's a spider, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
This
yeah.
has come up before.
It has. It's just I carry on forgetting that I have it, and it's...
Well, that could totally be included then. That's actually really good. And that's a really good roll. Yeah. This is actually something, funnily enough, that Oscar would be very interested in helping with when, Oscar's doing his rounds. Because around you, some of the strongest lads are helping set up the mine to be farmed in. But there is a worry of the danger still. Which is a sign of life, so Oscar would actually be here helping a little bit. More just helping relay what you've learned to other people. Signs of life was the best way to put it before. You didn't actually explore the other passway. You know Ankeg pretty well. They are quite common in these lands, and they tunnel. They are tunneling creatures. They're not fast tunneling creatures, though. You've encountered faster burrowing worms and land sharks and things like that. Ankeg take their time, but that means their tunnels remain. But they do eventually fall in. This has been used quite a bit, and when you send your familiar down there, it leads to what can only really be called as a nesting chamber. Now, something Oscar said last week, you even pointed out seemed a bit strange, is he said that Ankeg are solitary animals. And that is true in most cases. They are solitary insects that don't form a hive. Unless, through great stresses, it can cause a mutation into an Ankeg queen. And when you send your little familiar through the tunnel, and it goes through loamy ground into a more natural chamber, not only would you sense the acrid sweet smell of Malakes's poison in this chamber, you would see a bloated giant Ankeg form with many, many insect eggs, which would explain why they're all over the place right now.
Nice.
It's also note that from this chamber, it seems like the tunnels go every which way. It's not like the Ankeg will only be going this way towards you, but this is a threat that needs to be dealt with at some point.
Yeah, particularly considering that there are a lot of eggs, so presumably a lot more Ankegs on the way if we don't take this out quickly. Although whether or not we've got the strength to take it out quickly is another matter entirely.
Never fear. Torren is here. That is my voice now.
Did leveling up just cause him to
I am a hero.
Torren leveled up. He got his balls drop. He got some chest hairs. And he's going up. Oh, I can't wait until there's like a time skip and that actually genuinely happens. Torren becomes a grown boy. Anyway, yeah.
Torren is a grown boy. He's the most grown boy of all of them. It's true.
Wow.
Other than Amaryllis out of the party.
Yeah, who is a tree.
Well over 20. The others are too young.
That's true. Okay. Then you know what? We can start today with Amaryllis coming to the party about what you've learned. And Oscar. Because this has been several days of looking, and that's when you get the view of the spider going into the queen's nest. Also of note, before we do that, when you talked about the ruins, and I know something Neil said out loud as something, oh, we should tunnel into this place and learn more about it. They can't do that until they know the cave is secure. So that's a future job. Torren, would you be still at the graveyard doing the finishing touches?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't pay to mess this shit up.
Yeah, so Oscar and Amaryllis can climb, like, the cave and the graveyard are very close. You basically go around the hill to get to the mine, the cave. So you would hear Oscar approaching. You don't. Torren might have slowly learnt the noise of Amaryllis walking up. especially in an area like this where it is a bit quieter, it does just sound like the brushing of trees. But Oscar is a man in heavy armor with a heavy bastard sword, you know, and he doesn't try to be quiet either. He's not Bell. He's a Northman.
Pronounced bastard son.
Ayo.
Not even a reaction.
Just sadness. But he would approach, and kind of put like stretch and look around and. Well, this place isn't going to be winning any beauty contests, Torin. But I can tell what you're doing is working.
Well, depends on the judge, I guess.
And hopefully the gods will judge kindly on this place.
Oh yes, I can feel Ing's protection.
Aye. We might be needing some protection of your spells and prayers. Tell him what you saw, Tree.
Young Torin, you had an idea to, if possible, use the ancient township in the cave as a protection against Malekith. There is work to be done first. The other tunnel, the longer tunnel, it leads to a nest. There lays a great ankeg, an ankeg queen, surrounded by eggs. If we do not eliminate it, the ankeg will keep coming. And they will be everywhere.
Torin would look a little embarrassed at having his idea outed in front of Oscar at first, and then he's like, "Oh, right. Did it look bigger than the last one?"
Yes, a monstrosity bloated by the dragon's corruption.
Well, we'll definitely need Bell then if we're going to try to kill it, if that's possible.
Monsters like that can be killed with hard steel.
Oh, and I suppose you're going to go in there now.
It is a delicate balancing act. We cannot afford to neglect it because the eggs could hatch any day. But whether you are yet experienced enough to fell such a beast it would be a difficult battle.
Oh, all right then. Well, there's no point sitting around in the muck. Let's go find Richter.
He says, literally standing up from the muck. Richter, where is you?
So I would have brought back the little cleaning bot that we found.
In the note, there was another one. There were two.
Oh my God.
Would you only take back the one that you captured, or would you...
The basket, baby.
Yeah, the
I would only bring back the one I captured.
It's entirely reasonable that Richter wouldn't have even really noticed there was another one.
And I would have given it to Leia and been like, "What is this?" And whilst she did that, I would have gone to whoever does the most cooking around here. And because a couple of weeks ago, Richter had to make the stew, and he enjoyed it. So Richter wants to learn to cook.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's entirely...
That is really cute.
It is entirely reasonable that, especially now that things have gone back a little bit to their status quo, that, you know, the cook... You have a cook. You know, before... There would have been, you know, a town stew, but everyone could kind of do their own thing as well. But now everyone is eating the town stew, which makes total sense. The cook is a pretty young woman named Kendall. She's pretty young and she's pretty. And by pretty young, I mean she's like your age. She's
Nice, Richter, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to learn to cook, he said.
It's like taking home ec.
Yeah. She has a fairly bulky outfit of which it would actually classify as like leather armor. It's kind of like this padded apron with pockets for seasonings and things. And I mean, because it's a small town, you would know her. Her family were also, kind of cooks and being the town cook in a culture like this is almost adjacent to what Torin's doing. There's a lot of ritual and a lot of tradition that goes into these things.
And this is the dog's bollocks.
Almost like, an RPG where you cook things in a certain way and you get, like, bonuses. This is very much, oh, well, the scouts are going out, they need something that will clear their vision. And the thing is, a lot of the very old recipes have, like, a nestled nugget of truth to them. Because there's fucking magic, yo. So Kendall is more than happy to help teach you. She's also more than happy to have someone to talk to. She chats. I don't imagine Richter chats back that often, but she's talking to you while you're sort of in the what did you call the middle of the village? I totally forgot.
Oh yeah, we did have a name for it.
Doxy had a really good name for it, and I didn't write it down.
Lodge.
The lodge. While you're in the lodge cooking the morning stew. Well, actually, right now the morning stew is going to an afternoon stew. So, preparing for that with a little bit of rabbit and stuff that they've caught. She's having Richter skin the wee beasties while she's talking, and that's when you three approach. Kendall is currently... You know what? Let's randomly generate a topic. She's currently talking about fish. It's like, well, I think it's good to not have a fish stew, because we've been having a lot of fish stews. I think a bit of rabbit will do everyone a bit of good. Now, you can't live entirely off rabbit, so it's good to have some fish every now and again. Oh, but I would kill for some... I couldn't kill. But I could have some sternly worded messages to someone for some pork. Or some beef, or some goat. Like stirring the pot and seasoning it. That's when...
Shit, Richter, she's saying that she wants meat.
That's when you all approach. Oscar doesn't say
Likes an
any...
animal.
She doesn't want rabbit, though. She wants something with a bit more fat content.
She wants a pig.
It's called subtext. Children. Oscar, on seeing this, because he hasn't seen this, he hasn't really been bothered. He does kind of like lean on one of the entryways to the lodge, just kind of looking, as a dad does, to when their son has when their son has a date or somewhat. It is a very dadly look.
Yeah, I'd probably... Richter wouldn't have even noticed them come in. He would be focusing on skinning correctly. So he'd just be looking down and skinning.
Stew looks good, Richter.
Thank you. I try my best. I'm new.
Well, we're all looking forward to it, all of us.
Me too. We're trying new things. I actually look at you and smile.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, my little heart. All of a sudden, Dean is Baby Yoda. Sorry, stream.
It took that long to get a Baby Yoda reference out of the boy.
I've been trying to keep it in.
He held back for 24 minutes.
So, Amaryllis found something else in the caves.
Yes.
Oh, is it something we can eat? Something we can put in the stew?
Maybe.
I would not recommend it.
What about the eggs?
With your nature
Eggs.
check, the eggs actually are more edible than the unk eggs. They don't. The poison is kind of from their diet,
Yeah.
or the acid and stuff. So the eggs actually are good eating. Well,
The
not good.
eggs, yes, perhaps.
What
but
eggs?
Like sea urchins.
The beast itself is corrupted.
On-keg eggs.
Yeah, apparently there's a big queen. I didn't know they had queens.
Corrupted by the dragon's poison.
You got quavers there, Ollie. Oh my god.
Upon hearing that, I'll put the skinning knife down and turn to Kendall and say, I'm sorry, but you'll have to finish up here.
Well, that's fine. I appreciate the helping hand. When I had him.
You're welcome. Come on then. We have a queen to kill.
We probably need to go and find Belle as well.
Is she finished?
Well,
Oscar will say, she's trained the whelps into scouts.
Good. Yes. Let's fetch Balara.
I'll
What
trust
about
these
you,
matters with you
Oscar?
then. He does say, I'll trust
Like-
these matters with you then. I can't be risking myself charging into such dangers. If I'm gone, even if you return, I don't have high hopes for the village.
you're right. Risk your firstborn son instead. He doesn't say that.
I love how Neil is just having to like repress
He's-
his sarky side, so he just says
He
the comment
needs
that-
to get it out, otherwise all the bile will rise up.
Oh my god, it's... You don't even realize the amount of sass that I just divert into the ether.
We see it in other characters.
If you could see fart cam, oh my god.
I don't think I want to see Fartcam on any of these views, aside from Ian,
Dogs
who
is
seems
the
like a
worst.
responsible boy.
Ian does seem like a responsible boy, and I bet that's why his fart cam would be the worst.
That's the plot twist. You can go off to find Belle. Where would Belle be?
If she had finished with the children, she actually probably would have gone to look at the river and see if there were any good boat building materials laying around.
You can give me a survival
word.
check. There is there's a lot more flotsam that came down a river. Side tangent, just to even further not do anything today. I had a family gathering this weekend, and the word flotsam came up, and my mum was like, "Oh, that's a word you don't use very often." I'm like, I use that word very often. And here it is. A lot of the flotsam that's come down the river is dead, right? It's dead matter for like the crumbles at the touch. But you've been starting to find, in some cases, when it's a large enough, like when a whole tree has gone down the river, which seems to be happening more and more. It's almost like the core of the trunk, under all the crumbled dead matter, gets stronger through the process. It almost becomes...
That is legit a kind of wood that happens. That is
Exactly.
legit. I can't remember the name of it.
There's a few. There's some trees that get stronger through forest fires and stuff. But that wood that's become stronger would be like, because this is tree trunks and things, you could make really good, 1-2 person canoes out of them. It would take a long time because it is such rough wood, hardwood. But when you do it, it will be a good boat.
And when Balara notices that, she would have headed back to the rubble of what was once her home and found like a good wood hook and chain to start like dragging shit ashore.
Yeah. So when you get to find her, Belle is pretty much looking over. She's looking over her wood. Party people.
As she
Laura.
sees them approach, she would be like, thought we might build a boat.
Okay. It can wait, though. We've got things to do.
Thanks.
Amaryllis and my father, well, perhaps you could explain better than I.
When we went to investigate the cave recently, there was a second passage leads to an ankeg nest. There is a great bloated queen corrupted by the dragon's poison and countless eggs. It will need eliminating unless we wish to unleash a horde of ankegs on this valley.
Well, sealing the passage wouldn't do us much good, so fire?
It would be a boon to use in any battle, yes. It will fundamentally need eliminating, though. You are right, sealing the passage would do no good. There are countless passages off its chamber already.
The eggs could be a good source of food, though, and it might not be a wise idea to ruin them. We could pickle them, maybe.
If there's no one left to feed, what good would food do us?
Right, but have you ever tried to burn a moving creature? I've seen little fires in woods. Creatures run away. The ankeg would, and leave the eggs, yes. But they're the useful part.
Ollie, slight clarification. Is the dragon's poison, because you said that the ankeg queen's cavern was sort of noticeably with that poison. Is the poison like liquid?
It's a goop.
It's a goop.
It's a green goop. It would be. It is a moist chamber.
Yeah.
Plus, it's underground. Fire as a weapon might not be very practical.
Yeah, but I mean, how much do we know about this poison?
Suffocating
Because like, there's like bogs and marshes that like the gas is actually very flammable. So
you would think the poison wouldn't be flammable because it is a dragon's poison. True. It is kind of more magical in nature than practical. Okay. Good thought process, but no.
There is a way to use fire, not have to initiate, and still collect the eggs. It's risky, but yes. I'm willing to let go of these eggs more than I'm willing to let go of any of our lives.
Belle and Amaryllis. Can't really shorten Amaryllis. Can
Amy.
You both get...
I keep thinking of her as Amy. My little sister's name is Amy.
Both give me nature checks while you're having this conversation.
Yep, no.
Hello, my name's Ian, and I'm a skill monkey.
You have a thought
right there is Ian's luck.
With Belle. These creatures tunnel. You've seen it a bunch. You could, if you do this plan, if you try to suffocate it or burn it out with fire, it will just leave. It will mean you could grab the eggs, and that'd be great. Because while you say there's no one left, winter is coming. I know I'm legally not allowed to say that, but you only really have about a month left of like farmable time, aside from if you can set up the gnomish farms. So if you can get those eggs and pickle those eggs, that's will be good for the winter. But the actual queen will just leave. And Ankeg aren't intelligent, but you don't know about a queen. A queen might leave and then come back, knowing who tried to attack it. It wouldn't be a way to kill the creature, it'd be a way to spook it away.
Oh god, the only thing worse than a giant, horrible, burrowing insect, a giant, burrowing, horrible insect with a grudge.
How vast are the networks of tunnels?
Innumerable, and I would hazard a guess growing by the minute.
You encountered them
Is out.
by the gnomes' enclave down the valley, you know. So you could believe they're pretty much all over the valley.
I would just like to avoid combat with a giant ungeg. I would not be. I would be remiss if one of us were to die just trying to get eggs. If it's a live and let live situation.
We're not just trying to get eggs. If we kill it, we get food, possibly shelter, possibly secrecy from the dragon. There's a lot to gamble on. I mean, we've already got out of our way to risk our lives so far. Why start worrying about them now?
I can't climb a cave, Torin.
I mean, even if you climb a tree, it'd probably just cover you in acid and melt you down to the bone anyway, so...
The only other thing I can think of would be trying to cause a cave in on top of it, but I do not know how we'd go about that.
We could try and
tunnel-
wrangle those spiders, if there are any more.
From what you saw, the tunnel, the actual chamber of the nest is mostly made of that soft loam, so a cave-in could be possible.
It's just if soft loam is...
It is a
enough to
tunneling
kill it.
creature. It will...
Yeah.
If it was
Again,
like stone,
spook it
it's
away, slow
yeah.
down it building a nest.
Stone would
kill
probably be enough to kill it, but we couldn't do much. We couldn't, like, bring stone down on it. Loam we could bring down, but probably isn't enough to kill it. It's a bit of a catch-22.
There's plenty of wood alcohol at what was once my home. We could make an explosion.
But what happens if we make an explosion and it leaves? But it doesn't leave in the direction we want, and it pops up in the middle of town.
We should burn the eggs.
They could save people's lives.
We're
Amaryllis
not
and-
struggling currently for food.
Currently,
Yes, and the priority right now is to get rid of the eggs that could make matters worse.
right now, we're doing okay for food. But at some point, the fish will run out. We've already decided that what fish that are coming downstream, there's not going to be as many going forward. They'll breed, sure, but we've been fishing them hard, and many have died to the corruption. It just doesn't seem wise to throw away a boon like this. It's been placed in front of us for a reason.
All right, here's what I propose. We do make a fire in the network of tunnels. We suffocate it out into a place where we can fight it. Somebody goes in for the eggs while it's not there. We can rig the ceiling to explode.
Somebody
and
goes
cave in
in
on it.
where the smoke would suffocate them.
Well, no. We'll be distracting it in the open.
No,
Right.
It seems...
But you would have suffocated the locations where the eggs would be. Because the queen
Once
would
the
protect
smoke clears, somebody will go in for the eggs while we are distracting the queen.
I don't think it's a good idea to split up against something like this. A smaller one on its own nearly did me in.
I have tiny scouts.
I don't think we should put the children in danger.
There'll be in none. We will be taking care of the queen.
But if we're going to just take care of the queen, why don't we just take care of the queen?
Something Belle doesn't know because she wasn't there is that the tunnels we're talking about are not walk through tunnels. They are crawl very slowly through tunnels that end up in a big chamber. There's no leading it to another place, unless you could lead it to land, like the surface, which is theoretically possible, or the cave you came in from. There's no lead it back into the tunnels and fight it there, because you wouldn't be able to, and it could tunnel.
Right, I was trying to say I want to smoke it out of the cave entirely, out of the chamber entirely. Wherever it ends up, we will fight it. And then we will send in a kid to hang explosives, grab eggs, and go.
I also think you might be taking a leap thinking you can make explosives. Maybe. But you gotta remember the type of culture you're in and the reserves you have of resources are low. If I haven't said that you have explosives, because that's huge in any D&D game, you probably don't.
The other thing is that it's a tunneling creature. It can go any which way when we smoke it out. We don't have any way of knowing where it will end up. So,
well, I imagine it will go to open air if it can't breathe.
Reasonable, yeah. But even then, like this is like a mountainside cave, right?
Yeah.
It could pop out sort of anywhere on the mountainside.
Go all the way to Narashiro.
Yeah. It's like I get that you sort of want to even this fight up a bit, but it's sort of trying to even it up is inducing a lot of risk and a lot of variables that we can't control.
Okay, all I'm trying to do is make it so that we get the eggs and we fight the thing. That's it. I'm not trying to metagame, but nobody is understanding me at all.
No, we get it. I think you are, like, you and Belle are overcomplicating it. Using smoke is a good idea.
It's not, because it's a cave. Putting smoke in a cave, where's the smoke gonna go? It's a cave.
Valid. Okay. So you're the players. You plan. I've given you all the ask a friend nugs I can. Plan away, but do bear in mind you're gonna have to crawl through the tunnels to get here, and it's a nesting chamber. I would be very mighty impressed for you if you could sneak in.
If we think we can take on the Queen, and I believe we potentially can, then it would be wise to potentially try and lure it out some way. Now, smoke, I vote, is a bad idea. However, if we can find some more of those, whatever they were, those spiders with the propensity to explode, I suggest we find some of those, if we can, and toss them in. See if we can't spook it out.
Does it explode? Excuse me?
Yes, it's bizarre. If you would like, there's something similar to it in Leha's hut. It defies...
metal creatures. They were incessantly.
Clockwork, ancient gnomish technology. I do not know more than that. We could investigate the old gnomish place down the other passage, see if there is anything more. I feel that we investigated it thoroughly, but there might have been a store we missed.
There was a whole passageway caved in.
But we don't want to go in and do anything with that because of
that's the thing.
Queen.
In a town campaign sort of thing, you need strong strapping lads from the town to come in to break open that passageway. Of course, you could get lucky, but that would be time, right? But they need to get they need to break one wall before that anyway to get to the gnomish ruin, which they were not willing to do because they're scared of the Anke Queen.
So what if we can't scare it out? What if we lure it out? We've seen that these creatures, when they get corrupted, they lose their sense of self-preservation. We were attacked by rats. That would never normally happen. You said this thing's corrupted. If we got a carcass of some form and dragged it from outside the hole all the way to a fight point of our choosing and then left it or dangled it, we just need to generate vibrations, right? That's what they attack. And then it might come.
That doesn't sound terrible.
Well, it might not work, but
All of
I
these
figure-
might not work. We have to do something.
I figure
I still think
Belge-
that smoke might just kill it while it tries to escape. If it can't breathe.
How do insects breathe?
Everyone
Well, we
looks
know
at
they do.
Amaryllis. The only person who would know such a thing.
Depends on the particular insect, but these probably not dissimilar to us.
Yeah. A lot of insects breathe through their fucking bodies.
Your fantasy medieval serfs don't know that.
Yeah. That's why I said it as Dean, not as Rachel.
I can tell.
I said it as Gilwyn, not as Richter.
Yeah, thank you.
Gilwyn telling the tale.
I know this strange fact.
Torin will,
Just strumming a lute.
Yeah, in a tavern
Move
Sit around,
somewhere.
children, let me tell you.
Torin will scratch his now unhelmeted head.
Yeah, Torin looks mighty silly because he hasn't got a helmet anymore.
And
It's like when someone's always worn their glasses near you and then they aren't. You're like, what
It's
the
horrible.
who the fuck is this guy?
and it'll say, well, whatever you guys decide to do, I'll help.
Well,
Torin has abstained.
when I said we should burn the eggs, I hadn't considered or remembered that you would wish to make it habitable afterwards. So that's out. But we need to kill the queen. That seems plainly obvious to me. Your idea of a carcass is the easiest and the safest. The spiders, or whatever they are, it might work, but it requires a lot of prep.
We could. Attempting to lure it out will be comparatively little time. The only thing I am worried about is how to ensure it gets a scent. It will be constantly aware of vibrations on the surface, I would assume, if it is aware of what we are doing at all.
So we take one of those cleaning robots and place it near the carcass. I'm sure it's large enough to make vibrations.
And it would constantly make them as well without need for anyone else.
Yes, it is metallic.
How heavy is it?
It was fairly heavy.
We'll be able to carry it without setting it down until we've
Yes.
created a proper siege.
So, out of character for a moment, what exactly are we proposing at this point? And I'd also ask Ollie, in terms of the direction that the tunnel went into the mountain, would it be near the mountain side, or would it be like?
It was deeper down. enough that you would probably figure this creature doesn't actually hunt itself, and if it does hunt, it hunts things underground, which is even more worrying. Because it's a queen. You can get your servants to hunt for you. That isn't saying that it won't be able to resist a tasty treat. But what you sounds like you're suggesting. Allow me to do the old DM recap the plan. You bring with you a tasty treat. You put it somewhere you think would be good to fight, if you can find somewhere good to fight, because you are in Uncake tunnels. And then you use one of the gnomish cleaner bots to make vibrations while you hide, and either fight it or take the eggs.
Fight it.
Whichever.
I think we just need to. I think we just.
You're trying to
talking about
lure it away
luring
from
it.
the cavern.
From the goop. From the goop.
From the
piles,
goop.
yeah.
Yeah. It was. You described it as a very long tunnel. I feel that was
Yeah.
to the Like, I don't want to sort of just dismiss everything we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, but honestly, given all the variation and the uncertainties and even if we get it through to where we fought the other Ankeg, that's not exactly a great fighting place either.
But it is much, much better than a goop-filled cavern.
The
With
goop
eggs
cavern was
primed.
big.
Yeah.
Plus, Anna, like eggs in a combat scenario.
Yeah, have you seen
gonna-
Alien?
They're gonna
What's
pop
wrong
up.
with eggs? Eggs are great.
Eggs are bad.
I mean, we could try it.
It's
but
reasonable. It's a long tunnel.
It's a
To
lot of
try and
research,
lure
but-
something like that.
I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't try it, and then if we don't get a response from the
if you're
thing in,
trying, if you're trying at the cave entrance, or not the cave entrance, but the area in the cave entrance where the tunnel is, it
And
won't take
remember,
any time at all.
This
Yeah.
Ankeg queen is probably far more aggressive than a standard Ankeg queen because she's corrupted.
There are no standard Ankeg queens. This is the corrupted Ankeg has become a
Okay,
queen.
well,
Yeah,
she's
it's-
corrupted, so she's probably more aggressive.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, there's no reason why we can't try it. I just have a suspicion, unless we're very lucky, this might well end up with us
You
just going through the tunnel
can
anyway.
give it a try. It's probably likely, but we'll see how your rolls go. You can do that prep. I was gonna say next time after a break. All this talking. It's time to smack someone.